Hi everyone. Recently I uploaded a video on expectations, and I wanted to just sort of go down that road a little further. Let's take another branch and just see where it takes us. Quite often Christians will tell us that God's justice is perfect, and I think based on that claim we could have some general expectations. And of course, again, these are expectations of the concept, not of the entity, right? First we have to make sure that the concept is worthwhile considering before we're going to believe in the entity, because of course I don't see him anywhere. So when it comes to justice, what we're really talking about is personal responsibility, right? We're talking about being responsible for the results of one's actions. But there's actually two components to it. There's the personal responsibility, but there's also the recognition of the infringement upon the person that's been offended against rights to live their life free of those kind of encumbrances of these acts being perpetrated against them. And I think that's a really important point to consider. Now, quite often we're frustrated with our systems of justice, our judicial system, because sometimes there is some disproportionate punishment for different crimes depending on the socioeconomic status of the perpetrator, right? So quite often, say, a great example is politicians. They seem to get away with things that the average person would never get away with, and sometimes they'll even enact laws after the fact to get themselves off the hook, sort of thing. And that's a frustration for us. Well, why is it? Well, it's a frustration because we believe that a true system of justice should be proportionate, that everybody should be treated equally under the law, and the rule of law should also recognize the needs of the victim, the fact that the victim has a right to not have these offenses perpetrated against them. Now, it's when we extend this expectation to the Christian worldview that it starts to fall apart, because essentially what we have here is a get-out-of-jail-free card. The personal responsibility for the results of one's actions has been removed. It's been shunted off. It's been moved off site. We've got an automatic scapegoat for our actions. And in fact, instead of an aspiration to be a better person, we're actually told that we're incapable of being better, right? That we're inherently flawed and we're not worthy. More concerning, though, more troubling for me, is the fact that victimhood has also been displaced. We're no longer considering the person that we've offended against, but that victimhood has been moved to God. And I think that's even more concerning. In my personal and professional life, it's been the people that have instigated fraud and deception have been people that have professed a faith in the Christian worldview. And I can't help but wonder, maybe they haven't actually thought of it consciously, but I have to wonder if this whole sin and salvation narrative doesn't actually end up sort of, internalized, give them some sort of a license. But arguments from effect aside, I would say that, if you were to take the average Christian and propose something, sort of salvation narrative aside, if you were to propose that we were to go into all the prisons in North America and poll all the prisoners there, and if they all professed a belief in X, we'll just say X could be whatever. If they profess a belief in X, we're going to release them. And it's not going to matter what they did, how heinous the crime, etc., etc. And once released, as long as they continue to profess a belief in X, we're not going to charge them with any new offenses. They can go and apologize once a week somewhere, at a court office somewhere. I don't think they would see that as perfect justice. And to take it a step further, if we were to say, well, to all the rest of the prisoners who haven't professed a belief in X, we're going to ramp things up. We're going to go in there with a tiger torch. We're going to burn them occasionally. Bamboo shoots under the fingernails, water torture, you name it. We're going to just constantly and consistently torture these people, and it's not going to matter what the crimes are. Misdemeanors, it won't matter. Misdemeanors right up to the worst possible crimes. We're going to extend all their sentences to indefinite detention with constant torture. And I don't think anybody would believe that, or would say that this represents some sort of perfect justice. And especially if we were to take it yet one step further and say that all sort of victim recompensation programs are going to be nullified. We're going to get rid of those. Victims can just, they can just go home and suffer in silence. Again, I don't think anybody would see this as perfect justice, and I'm not disregarding the salvation narrative here, but I think if you're going to call something a perfect system of justice, I think it would be reasonable to have the expectations that it would be equal and proportional. It would actually cause people to be responsible for the results of their actions and to be responsible to the victims, the direct victims of their crimes. And I think anything less is dangerous. Thanks for watching.